Now
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
6:06. It's O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in. Friday, the 5th day of July. Coming up at 7:05, John McGuire, who is now the Republican nominee for Congress in the 5th District. At 8:05, Connor Boyack. He's the creator of the Tuttle Twins, very popular with a lot of parents out there, and they've got a brand new American history book for children. At 8:35, Christian Toto will join us, talk about the summer movies coming out, including a Despicable Me situation, Patrice Onwuka. I'm guessing with your children, you're going to be all about the
the little yellow men.
Yeah, they're the Minions.
Minions. I love the Minions. They're hilarious, actually.
That's all coming up. Speaking of Minions, it's all about the donors, isn't it? You know, I mean, that's the neck that moves the head in a political party, and when the donors bail on you, you're done. And from all indications, that is exactly what's happening to President Biden right now. We've got a couple of good indications. One of them, this Ari Emanuel. Now, he is Rahm Emanuel's brother. Remember the old Rahm Emanuel? He was a congressman.
Yeah.
He was chief of staff for Barack Obama. He was mayor of Chicago. He's now an ambassador, right? The Rahm Emanuel is a really important guy. Yeah. His brother is probably way more important. His brother, Ari Emanuel, is a power broker in Hollywood. He's a super agent for I think for CAA. He is basically who the character Ari in Entourage was based on.
Okay.
And he has been a major power player in Democrat politics as well. And listen, if you're a power player in Hollywood, you're a power player in Democrat politics.
Oh,
he
absolutely.
is a huge fundraiser. Last week in the Aspen Ideas Conference, or excuse me, I keep saying last week because I feel like yesterday was a weekend, which is weird because we worked yesterday. That's okay. Earlier this week at the Aspen Ideas Conference, he went on a 5-minute diatribe about how he feels betrayed by Joe Biden, that Joe Biden lied to them. He also revealed, and I've heard this rumored, that Joe Biden told major players, Democrat figures, and funders that he will be a transitionary figure and he would only run for one term. He never said that publicly. He never promised that publicly. But Ari Emanuel said, Joe Biden told us he was only going to run for one term. Now here he is running for a second term, and we sort of all had to reluctantly go along with it. But now we know they've been lying to us about his health. They've been lying to us about his capabilities. And now it may be too late to actually change because of rules in certain states, including Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Ohio. And Ari Emanuel at this Aspen Ideas Conference said, the funders that I know, we're all pulling money out of the presidential race now, and we're putting it into Congress because we feel like that's our only chance. Now, add that to Reuters now reporting the headline, some Democratic donors want a refund after Biden's campaign's response to debate performance.
Yikes.
Biden's re-election team held difficult phone calls on Sunday and Monday with important campaign funders, telling them why they should keep donating after his dismal debate performance. The campaign's National Finance Committee held a hastily scheduled call with hundreds of top Democratic donors and people who raised money for Biden's campaign on Monday evening to tamp down the panic. One of the questions was, can the president make it through a campaign and another term? The second call with about 40 top donors on Sunday turned tense after the campaign manager was asked if the campaign will offer a refund if Biden doesn't run. A source familiar with that. Oh, by the way, answer no. You do not get a refund.
Kiss that money goodbye.
And Patrice, that leads us to a story you've been following, which has to do with a very well-known heiress to Hollywood money.
Absolutely.
A woman, Madam Disney, apparently is not feeling a happy ending here with the Biden presidency.
Absolutely. Abigail Disney. She is the granddaughter of Walt Disney Company co-founder Roy Disney. So this is Disney money. And she has been involved in the past in some heavy fights, including against Governor DeSantis over his squabble with Disney and some of the agenda items, conservative good items, ideas that he's championed. But she's a heavy hitter in the Democratic donor circles. Yeah. And she is now saying she intends to stop contributing to the party unless they take Joe Biden off the ticket. That's what she said. Quote, "This is realism, not disrespect. Biden is a good man and has served his country admirably, but the stakes are too high." That's what she told CNBC just yesterday. And, as I mentioned, she has been funding Democratic politics up and down the ticket. She gave nearly $2 million to federal Democratic candidates and committees since 1992. And so, listen, the dog is wagging. And when you're losing the Disney money, you're losing all of these donors. This is what is going to kick Joe Biden off the ticket. He may not want to go willingly. His wife will not want to let him go willingly. But if the money speaks, and money speaks in politics, interestingly, and just an aside, the left used to hate money in politics and how that's something that the right does. Well, now that they've built up a pretty strong donor base of mega donors like Abigail Disney, now all of a sudden money in politics doesn't matter. But in this case, I think these folks are going to be the ones to get Joe Biden off the ticket. Interesting, though, I don't see any enthusiasm for Kamala Harris. Abigail Disney doesn't say, "Oh, and I'm enthusiastic about Harris taking his place." So it'll be interesting to see who they will rally behind once Joe Biden is off the ticket.
Yeah, listen, Democrats always used to claim they didn't like money in politics. They love money in politics if it's union money, if it's money they control, if it's money that they dominate. Yeah. Abigail Disney to CNBC, here's the quote. Excuse me, it's devastating because it's not just about Joe Biden. It's about her contributions to the Democrats. She says, if Biden does not step down, the Democrats will lose. Of that, I am absolutely certain. The consequences for the loss will be genuinely dire. She says she's not giving to any Democrat as long as Joe Biden is at the top of the ticket. This is how this is going to move very quickly. This is a mutiny right now, and it's being led by a handful of Democrats who are talking very differently behind the scenes than they are on the record. And it's motivated by these donors. Here's another one. Wow, this is Damon Lindelof.
Okay.
He is a producer in Hollywood. Again, all of this is Hollywood money, by the way. But please, God, everybody, if you can, stop. I know we're talking about movies coming up and Despicable Me and all that, but this is what they do with your money. And this Damon Lindelof says, when they text you asking for cash, text back that you're not giving them a penny and you won't change your mind until there's a change at the top of the ticket. And when Joe finally leaves the mound, I will stand and applaud because he truly pitched a great game. Damon Lindelof is now calling on Biden to drop out and then specifically telling other donors to stop funding the Democrat Party. And again, I want to reiterate, we should take a cue from this. See, how do they get the Democrats to change? They turn off the spigot and stop giving them money. If you want Hollywood to change, maybe you should do the same thing. Maybe we should do the same thing and turn off the spigot and stop giving Hollywood money. It's easier said than done. But it is frustrating when you see how they get it. They know how to make change.
Oh, yeah, they do.
And yet we, who do we hate? We hate big tech. We hate the colleges and universities. We hate Hollywood and all of those institutions. And yet,
all
what
the
do
cultural
we do?
bastions,
we
yeah.
send our kids to college and we pay all those tuitions. We subscribe to all the streaming services and we keep going to the movies. And, well, then maybe we'll figure it out one day.
We figured it out with Target.
That's right.
And
Bud Light.
And Bud Light. So we can do it if we want to.
It's 6:50. Oh, we actually have some audio of Ari Emanuel. You know what? Let's carry it over. I didn't see that we had the audio, but let's listen to Ari Emanuel and talk about how they're facing this existential problem. He's much more negative, by the way. I'll set it up for you in just a sec. We'll get to that in a moment.
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live.
From the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Mervis Diamonds make a statement. They say you know quality and value. Mervis Diamond Importers.
WMAL, making sense of the roads, because traffic doesn't always follow the pattern. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
As the few bitter clingers in the Biden administration continue to try to hang on and delude themselves and the American people that he can continue on the ticket, when, again, just like for the last several years, we know that Joe Biden has diminished mental and physical capabilities, and yet everybody's telling us otherwise. We also know that Joe Biden is history. He will not be the nominee.
Yes.
It is an absolute certainty at this point that he will not be on the ticket in November. But there are still a few in Biden's inner circle, Biden himself, who have deluded themselves to think that he will. And to that end, he has announced that he will be speaking in Philadelphia on Sunday at a teachers union event. Of course, it's not to meet real voters. It's to talk to the teachers union, the people who will actually do the legwork, the soldiers. Yeah. And then he'll also be swinging through Wisconsin for an event as well. These are two very important swing states, Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. And so he's continuing to try to, boost up his campaigns. But every single appearance amplifies the fact that he is absolutely incapacitated and capable of being president. And that brings us to Ari Emanuel, because
just one thing, Larry, on that real quickly. It's going to be interesting to see which lawmakers who are running for re-election or election will show up at those campaign stops. I think there's already one member of Congress who's not going to be there for one of those campaign stops.
Tammy Baldwin, running for re-election for Senate in Wisconsin, has said that she's got other plans that day.
She already has a tour. When the president comes to your state, you got to be kidding me. Okay, go ahead, Larry. Sorry.
But no, well spotted. Thank you. Ari Emanuel, as I just mentioned, this Hollywood power broker at the Aspen Ideas Festival, he mentions Pennsylvania as part of the problem here legally in terms of what they're going to do. Listen.
Here's what Biden did. He said he was going to run for one term, and he's doing it to restore democracy. He now runs for a second term. First bit of malarkey, as he would say. Then he says that this is for it's a quintessential thought about saving democracy, and it's so important, etc. His cohorts have told us that he's healthy for over a year, and I think it was 2 weeks ago there was an article in the Wall Street Journal. And I had a father who died at 92, but at 81, I took away his car. And it's a very simple test for me. If you were driving from, anywhere they understand, from downtown Beverly Hills to Malibu, would you want Biden to do it at night? Would you want Trump to do it at night? Or want neither? If the answer is neither, you cannot have them running a $27 trillion company called the United States.
All right, so this is at the Aspen Ideas Festival, where the audience is all lefties. So of course you gotta lump Trump in, but everybody knows that there isn't. But
this
then
is just
he
about
goes
Biden.
On.
And so we're looking at a man who's saying the other guy's a liar, and he's telling us malarkey. His people are telling us malarkey. But we're in a very bad problem. He is not the candidate anymore. I mean, if you all remember, this is a legal issue now. He was going to get kicked off the ballot in Ohio. They elected him the candidate. So you no longer can remove him. In 3 swing states, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, there's only one Democratic Congress, Michigan. They have to vote to remove him. I don't believe the Republican Party in Pennsylvania and in Wisconsin are going to do that. Okay, and if they do, it's then Kamala Harris. We don't have. This is legal. So lawyers have to look at this, and everybody says, well, get rid of them and brokered convention. No. Now, maybe there's some question whether the delegates can do something, and I promised myself I wasn't going to swear. So this is a pickle.
A pickle. He
That's a
actually did
PG
go on
way
to
of
swear,
putting
by
it.
the way, because he's a Hollywood agent. But that's where things stand. And did you hear the tone in the voice? I mean, they don't know what to do. This has now become a legal issue because of certain states and how you deal with this thing. And at the same time, he again, I want to reiterate, Ari Emanuel was saying, the people he knows, the major donors, and I'm talking millions of dollar donors, they are no longer supporting the president. They are putting all of their money into congressional races.
You know what I took away from his speech, in addition to what you laid out, is how he framed it. He said President Biden ran to restore democracy, and then this guy goes on to really lay out how Biden and his sycophants are demolishing democracy, dismantling democracy, including in ways of trying to usurp the Democratic voters who've already put him on the ticket, and obviously running up into legal issues. So there is a very keen awareness that all this talk about restoring democracy, unifying America, making this, putting again, like I said earlier, putting this country in steady hands is a bunch of malarkey. It absolutely is malarkey. And they have buyer's remorse, but they probably feel like the wool has been pulled over their eyes. If only they recognize that there are other news sources and other people than just the insiders who have a lot to gain from their money by lying to their face.
It's 6:24.
Now,
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 6:36 now. Thank you for being part of our 5th of July presentation on WMAL. It's O'Connor and Company. Coming up at 7:05, John McGuire is now officially the Republican nominee for the 5th District, although Bob Good, the incumbent congressman, does say he's going to seek that recount just to make sure everything's square. That's cool. 8:05, Connor Boyack is the creator of the Tuttle Twins, and he's got a brand new American history book for your kids. And at 8:35, Christian Toto on what movies to avoid this summer. It's July 4th weekend, That's a thing. I'm Larry O'Connor. That's Patrice Onwuka. Good morning, Patrice.
Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody.
So I guess the president yesterday was hoping to calm fears by doing his presidential duties for the July 4th presentation. And I don't know if we can call this mission accomplished. There were some classic Biden moments, which of course means he rambled incoherently, went down rabbit trails that then he haltingly stopped talking or telling a story in the middle of a sentence, just sort of shrugged and said, yeah, well, anyway. Because I think he stopped himself knowing that he was about to tell another lie about being involved in some battle. I'll play that audio for you in a moment. Also, interestingly, noteworthy, Kamala Harris had a huge presence at this 4th of July celebration.
All right.
She was there talking to the crowd. She introduced the president. In fact, here's how she introduced the president, because this was noteworthy in and of itself. Here's Kamala.
And we give thanks to our Commander-in-Chief, the President of the United States, the extraordinary President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Did you catch that?
Ouch. She blew it.
What? I mean, that was a weird little mental tick.
Our Commander-in-Chief, the President of
The
Vice President.
Why in her mind is Joe Biden the vice president?
Because, like I said earlier, maybe they're going to switch it up on the ticket. Just swap-a-roo.
our
So she's already prepared.
Commander-in-Chief, the President of the United States.
That's just weird.
Larry, and she knew she made a mistake because she said it twice. She then called him the president twice, like to say, oh, yes, I actually said the president of the United States and embellished it a little bit. But, yes, she made that Freudian slip.
Well, thankfully, the crowd it was immediately distracted because after she erroneously began to introduce Joe Biden as the vice president, Then Joe Biden took the microphone, and he acted like he was there for the Christmas tree lighting, not the 4th of July. Listen.
Ho, ho, ho! Happy Independence Day!
And then somebody in the ear said, "No, it's not Christmas, Joe. It's Independence Day."
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas, folks.
It's July 4th. We are in the middle of a heat wave. We had a heat index warning yesterday and a heat advisory. He's
But
there
there's a
for
lot
the
of red.
fireworks.
Larry,
And
did you see all the red? He probably thought red Christmas. He
That
mistook
makes
the
sense.
green for blue or the blue
Yeah.
for green. You know what I mean? I could see it happening.
Ho, ho!
God. All right. Then that was in the evening presentation. Earlier in the day, they entertained, as is custom, families from the military. These are military families, their spouses, their children. And he started rambling incoherently. He also, by the way, used yesterday, Independence Day, officially at the White House, greeting members of the military to promulgate the lie, perpetuate this debunked hoax that Donald Trump refused to go to a World War I cemetery because he called them all losers, suckers and losers. Yeah, he repeated that in a political context at the White House as commander-in-chief speaking to the troops. But we'll get to that in a moment. But listen to this sort of strange interlude where he just wanders around aimlessly and rambles.
You got me, man. I'm not going anywhere. All right. All right, I'll come back out when they open the gate, okay? Thank you. One last thing. You know, I used to think when I was a senator, there were always congestion on the highways. There's no congestion anymore. None. We go on the highway, there's no congestion. And so the way they get me to stop talking, they'll say, "We just shut down all the roads, Mr. President. You're going to lose all the votes if you don't get in." But anyway, I'll be back out. And by the way, I've been all over the world with you. I've been in and out of battles anyway.
Oh, goodness.
Now, to be fair,
Goodness,
that last
come
part
on
was actually
now.
from earlier in the presentation or later in
Okay.
the presentation. That was 2 moments combined there. But it did sound like he was about to say that he was in battles all around the world.
I've been all over the world with you. I've been in and out of battles anyway.
Yeah, and I'm using President Biden's term. Anyway.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
what he sounds like. Yeah.
That's exactly what he sounds like. It's terrible.
But did
He
you
needs to
notice
go.
this whole this is so gross. It's almost obscene. We heard this reflected in that Vogue article about Jill Biden, about how they love the trappings of power, and he's sitting there sort of joking about and bragging about being in a motorcade and the fact that he doesn't have to sit in congestion anymore because he's president, and that they shut down roads for him. And it's like, first of all, everyone should realize, and the people who work at the White House should realize, we don't like to hear about that. It annoys us.
It
annoys
absolutely
us that
does,
you
yeah.
shut down traffic so that this guy can drive from point A to point B, but we tolerate it. But for him to go up there and say, when I was a senator, I used to think there was bad congestion, but now there's no congestion anymore. It's gross. It's like a king bragging about how he can, basically call anything he wants on his whim.
Well, I know our listeners who think, many of whom are men and think about Rome and Roman life very often, will appreciate that we are watching Rome on right now, and that is exactly what those Roman senators were like. Oh,
Yeah.
I just get to use this soldier as a footstool to climb up on my horse. Oh, I don't have to walk in the feces and the human excrement in the square
It's
anymore.
gross.
I'm now a senator.
It's imperious. It's monarchical. It's not American at all. And by the way, you make the reference to Rome. If you believe what's in Ashley Biden's diary, it may be Caligula is the part of Rome that we're actually watching. It's 6:44. Yeah, ho ho ho, indeed.
Ho, ho,
That was the President of the United States last night at the Independence Day celebration. He also said this.
And by the way, I've been all over the world with you. I've been in and out of battles anyway.
I guess the bottom line here is I regret to inform you that the President of the United States is still suffering from a debilitating cold and jet lag. Both at the
After,
same
15
time.
days now?
Yeah,
or
well,
was
I
it
mean,
20
listen,
days?
that's the excuse we have. He's perfectly fine. He's sharp as a tack. Everything's copacetic. He just has a cold. He has a cold. What do you want?
Who are the people in the audience who are just cheering when they hear him talk? I mean, I understand some of them are interns for the White House, maybe some junior level staff members who are trying to keep their job. But it's at this point, it's not even a joke. It's not a bad joke.
Well,
it is not even just sad. It is dangerous that this man is in charge of our nation, holding our nuclear football. He at any point could accidentally press the wrong button, thinking it's the off button, and he launches a nuclear
the panic
attack
button
against
he pushes
Russia.
to call Jill into the room so he can find the clicker to turn on his cartoons. Patrice, the people who are applauding, to be honest, a lot of them, they're members of the military and their families, their wives, their children, their parents who got the invitation to go to the White House. And, they were able to set aside politics for the day and just celebrate the fact that our country is the greatest on the planet. So great that they're willing to give their lives if necessary as our brave and heroic soldiers and airmen and sailors and Marines. And so, I don't fault them for applauding and just loving our country. The fault goes to this man who decided to turn that patriotic moment and that captive audience of members of the military and their families into political props to attack Donald Trump with a lie. Listen.
I was in that World War I cemetery in France, and the one that one of our colleagues, the former president, didn't want to go and be up there. I probably shouldn't even say it. Anyway, we got to just remember who the hell we are. We're the United States of America.
Whoa. All right, so first of all, he's trying to tell the suckers and losers lie that has been debunked. He stopped himself in the middle of it and said, I probably shouldn't say that because it's a violation of the law, because he's at the White House attacking a political opponent. And again, with a smear and with a lie. The people in that captive audience are members of the military who aren't allowed to act overtly political or partisan. And guess what, Mr. President? The majority of them don't support you, but they're there because it's their duty. And he just crapped on all of that, frankly, by bringing in that lie and bringing petty politics into it. And one last thing. This thing, I hate this so much.
We got to just remember who the hell we are. We're the United States of America.
Whoa. That it's a cheap applause line that he uses all the time. And who is he yelling at? Who is he angry at? Who exactly has forgotten that we are the United States of America? And he talks himself into a corner. He doesn't know where to go. He loses his train of thought. And then he just, I'm going to yell and say we're the United States of America, and everybody cheers. This man cannot be removed from the public square soon enough.
You know what? On his many years in fighting the civil rights fights that he did, he probably picked up that tactic from the many black pastors who use that very same tactic in their messages when things are falling flat. They just pull out a scripture that gets everybody to cheer. So
I hope you're being ironic because you know that's a lie too. He did not fight in the civil rights fight.
I am very much aware. I'm being ironic here. I actually wrote about all the lies that he's told related to black politics, but. Yeah, you know what? I still think that it's the people who are cheering him on, egging him on, they're part of why we have him right now. And, he's not going to move. And the fact that he doesn't even know who the H-double-sticks he is tells you that, he doesn't care.
Did you just say H-double hockey sticks? Is that what you just did?
I did. I didn't want to be inappropriate.
Your children are not in the room. It's okay. We can say.
Even before
and even
kids,
if they are,
like
it's a place.
Unless I'm referring to the place, I don't want to use it in a crass way, Larry. I'm sorry. I've been this way all my life.
I appreciate that. I'm glad someone has some class and dignity here.